I'm going to show you how to set up the two bed boards on the Shop Fox and William Hussey machines, the Mr. Smarty, which does straight molding, and the Miss Smarty, which does both straight moldings and curved moldings. So we have a T-slotted bed board, and we simply use the T-slots on the machine itself, push the bed board up against the dovetail of the machine. Since we have the square nut on the bottom, we simply tighten these down. Now I put the two straight guides on. They also have T-slots. With the first guide on, I can measure against the dovetail. I'm going to cheat here and use a spacer block. Or you can use a pair of calipers. I prefer spacer block or calipers over measuring tape. I put my second guide on and I simply tighten that in place. Now I just have to make sure my feed rollers are set on the molding setting, and I lower the head down. The machine is of course unplugged. I lower the head down to the proper setting, put my cover on, put my dust collection on, plug the machine in, and we're ready to go. That's very simple to do with straight molding. And now we have the Miss Smarty, the curved bed board, to set up. And this one we're going to set in place and run a piece through. So this one you can see has both the T-slots, as the Mr. Smarty bed board has, and it also has some strategically located points here where we're going to run the curve off of. And we line the bed board up the same way as we did with the Mr. Smarty bed board. Now we move these circles, or the poly circles, more or less to where we want them to be. Put our blank in place. Now this has to be lined up to the knife. So once it is, we put the blank so it's evenly in the middle, just by eye. We line it up with the knife, and then the poly circles in the center line will now be tightened up in place. We simply move the other poly circles in and tighten them up as well. Now we're ready to set up and run our piece. So we're going to take this out, put the cover on, dust collection, and plug the machine in. Now that we have the machine set up, we're going to run a piece of stock of Mr. Smarty bed board to make a curved molding. Now we're going to show the difference between our Mr. Smarty and Miss Smarty bed boards and the traditional William Hussey and Shop Fox bed boards. Mr. and Miss Smarty bed boards will do straight molding and curved molding in the case of the Miss Smarty bed board. Does not do elliptical molding. The traditional William Hussey and Shop Fox bed boards do curved and elliptical moldings, but they do not do straight moldings. So with the traditional Shop Fox and William Hussey bed boards, you have to mount your piece of work onto a backer board. So you need a backer board for each curve, and you have to drill through and screw it or somehow securely fasten it on. The risk of that is, with screwing it through, is that you can machine through the screws if you use too long of a screw, as has been done with this piece. Also, you have the extra step of having to mount it on the backer. When we designed the Mr. and Miss Smarty bed boards, that's what we tried to avoid. We wanted to not have to mount your work onto a backer board. We also wanted to provide a nice, easy way to set up and run straight moldings, which the traditional bedboards do not.